Have you ever felt weak for loving them too much? Ashamed for walking away without closure, without answers? Did you tell yourself, they must be doing just fine now that I'm gone? They're not. They're spiraling. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. You don't need revenge to destroy a narcissist. All you have to do is disappear. No reaction, no validation, no supply. They can't handle that, not because they loved you, but because you stopped feeding their empty ego. You pulled the plug. You stopped explaining. You left the game. And that shakes them to their core. And this video isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. It's about showing you that your indifference is your superpower. You don't need to prove anything. You don't owe them closure. You're allowed to walk away in silence without guilt. Today, we're going to break down 7 things that truly destroy a narcissist, not with drama, but with clarity, silence, and self-respect. If you're in the middle of your healing, this will ground you. If you've walked away and doubt yourself, this will remind you why it was the right choice. If it resonates, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Now let's get into it, starting with the one thing that rattles them the most: your silence. The first thing that destroys a narcissist is your silence. But not the kind of silence that's cold, angry, or passive-aggressive. I'm talking about the kind of silence that is grounded, intentional, and deeply peaceful. The kind that says there's nothing more to say because I've said it all with how I walk away. And that silence, it terrifies them. Because narcissists don't fear your yelling, they don't fear your tears, your rage, or your accusations. They fear one thing only: you not reacting. Before, every time they lied, manipulated, or pushed you to the edge, you reacted. You cried, you argued, you texted long explanations. You tried to fix it, defend yourself, or make them see the truth. Every single reaction was fuel. Fuel for their ego. Fuel for the belief that they still mattered, that they still had a place in your emotional world. But now, you stopped. You no longer chase answers. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself. You've pulled back every ounce of emotional energy you once poured into them, and their world begins to crack. To a narcissist, your silence isn't absence. It's a refusal to be controlled. They can't read you. They can't provoke you. They can't figure out what you're thinking or how to get back in, and the scariest part for them, they're no longer the lead character in your story. Your silence removes their stage. No more spotlight, no more applause, no more emotional script to play out, just an empty theater where they're screaming lines, and you've already left the building. They'll try everything to drag you back: cryptic social posts, accidental messages, pretending to need help, stirring up drama, or spreading rumors to provoke a reaction. But this time, you don't respond, because now you understand. Every reaction is a payment, and you're done funding the performance. Your silence says what words never could: I'm no longer available for your manipulation. I've chosen my peace. I've moved on. And that is what truly destroys the narcissist. Not your anger, not revenge, but your calm, unwavering, quiet boundary. It's not that you don't feel. It's that you've stopped letting your feelings be used as weapons against you. It's not that you don't care. It's that you finally care more about yourself. Your silence is not passive. It's a decision, a boundary. A declaration that your healing no longer depends on their validation. You don't need closure. You don't need apologies. You don't need them to admit anything. You just need to stay silent long enough for the truth to rise on its own. And it will. Through your eyes, through your energy, through your peace. So if you're wondering, does my silence even matter? Let me be clear. Yes, it does. It's your power. Your clarity, the beginning of your emotional freedom. Let them scream into the void. Let them rewrite the script. Let them throw stones at shadows. You stay silent and keep living. Let that echo louder than anything they ever said. Thing 2, you stop explaining yourself. You know they're smearing you. You know they're telling a version of the story that isn't even close to the truth. You hear the whispers, feel the judgment, see the shift in people's eyes, and yes, you have the receipts. You have the pain, the facts, the right to speak up and defend yourself, but you don't. You don't rush to clarify. You don't message mutual friends to clear things up. You don't chase anyone for validation. You simply stay silent, not because you're weak, but because you've realized this powerful truth. The truth doesn't need to be shouted to be real. It will speak through the way you live. When you stop explaining, you step off the narcissist stage. You break their script, because they never cared about truth. They only cared about control. They crafted a narrative where they're the victim and you're the villain. And the more you try to explain yourself, the more it looks like you're guilty. The more you try to fight their lies, the more you sink into the mud they've dragged you into. But when you stop playing along, when you pull back and detach, you strip them of their power. The people who genuinely want to understand you will come to you directly, with respect, with questions, with open hearts. The ones who just want gossip, drama, or to pick sides, they'll believe whatever serves their own story, and you've learned that's not your burden to carry anymore. You don't need to be understood by everyone. You don't need to be liked by those who never saw you clearly to begin with. You just need peace inside you. Choosing not to explain isn't passive, it's powerful. It means you've stopped trying to be heard by people who already decided not to listen. It means you've realized the truth is a gift, and not everyone deserves access to it. Narcissists hate this. They thrive on your reactions. They want you to explode, to rant, to break down, so they can point and say, "See, look how unstable they are." But when you don't give them that, when you leave them performing their lie alone on stage with no audience, they crumble. And the people who matter? They'll notice. They'll look at your quiet strength, your kindness, your consistent energy, and they'll start to ask themselves, if this person was so toxic, why are they the one living in peace without saying a word? That's how the truth rises, quietly but with weight, not through arguments, not through confrontation, but through your steady presence and unshaken integrity. Your refusal to explain is not avoidance, it is mastery. A calm refusal to let someone drag you into the drama they designed to destroy you, and in the end, you become the clearest answer to their lies, simply by continuing to live in truth. Thing 3. You're doing well without them. No revenge, no drama, no need to prove anything. You're just doing well, living right, living in peace. And that alone is something the narcissist can't stand, because they're used to you being emotionally dependent. They assumed that once you left, you'd fall apart, that you'd come crawling back, begging, or at the very least suffering, because your pain made them feel powerful. But you didn't fall apart. You went silent. You disappeared. And then you started rebuilding your life without needing them or their validation. No flexing, no showing off. You focused on healing, on your work, on your peace. You got stronger, not to make them regret losing you, but because you finally chose yourself. And for a narcissist, that's devastating. They can't bear the thought of you being happy without them. They were used to being your emotional center, your sun. Now you shine on your own, quietly, calmly, confidently, while they're left scrambling for a new script. Your success is not arrogance, it's a quiet declaration. I don't need you to be whole. You're not stalking their life, you don't care who they're with. You don't engage in their smear campaigns, and in doing so, you deliver a message that burns more than any insult ever could. I've truly left your world, and I'm doing just fine. No performance, no need for applause. You're just living, present, grounded and free, and every single day that you live well, their ego cracks just a little more. Thing 4. You no longer care about how they're doing. There was a time when your mind was consumed by them. What are they doing? Who are they with? Do they miss you? Do they regret losing you? Are they happy or just pretending? You knew the relationship was toxic. You knew you had to walk away, but your thoughts kept looping back, trapped in that emotional vortex. Do I still matter to them? Then one day, you woke up and realized you don't care anymore. You no longer check their social media. You don't ask mutual friends for updates. You don't torment yourself imagining them happy with someone new. Not because you hate them, but because they are no longer the center of your world. For a narcissist, that's unacceptable. They can handle being hated. They can handle being exposed. They can even handle being the bad guy in your story, as long as they still occupy space in your mind. But when you feel nothing, when you no longer react, wonder, or care, that's when they panic, because they've truly lost access. You don't wonder how they're doing, not because you're above it, but because you finally understand that their life is no longer connected to your peace. Healing didn't happen because you forgave them. It happened because you stopped spending energy on someone who once destroyed you. You're busy living your life, reading, savoring your coffee, laughing without forcing it, nurturing your soul the way you once nurtured them, surrounding yourself with people who see your worth, without asking you to prove it. And then something beautiful happens. They're no longer your first thought when something good or bad happens. You don't think, I wish they could see me now, or I wonder if they'd laugh if I failed. They're just gone, slipped out of your mind like a heavy stone finally released. No noise, just relief. For the narcissist, that's the most painful truth of all, because they wanted to haunt you forever. To be the one you never get over, to linger in the corners of your thoughts, always, but you didn't give them that power. You're not tracking who they're dating. You don't care what they post or what lies they spin, because you understand now. Every minute spent thinking about them is a minute stolen from your healing, and you've chosen you. You've chosen peace. You've chosen presence. You've chosen to live in the now, not in the echoes of a person who only ever drained you. They might still be performing, still fishing for attention, still using old tricks to trigger you, but this time, there's no audience. You don't care. You don't look back. And in their world, that indifference hits harder than any insult ever could, because it's coming from someone who once loved them with everything. 5. You don't feel jealous when they move on. This is the narcissist's favorite final play, replacing you as quickly and publicly as possible. They want you to see them flaunting a new relationship, loud, romantic, happy, as if you never existed. It's not love, it's a message. They want you to feel replaced. They want you to wonder why this new person gets the version of love you begged for but never received. They want you to feel like you lost. So they wait. They wait for your reaction. They want anger, jealousy, sadness. They want you to reach out, lash out, or post something online. Anything to prove they still matter to you. But this time, you don't. You see the photos, you hear the news, and you feel nothing. No jealousy, no heartbreak, no need to compare yourself. Because now you understand, that's not love. It's a recycled performance, a familiar script, a different actor playing the role you used to fill. And when you don't react, you cut off the very supply they're desperate for, your attention. You're not the one who got replaced. You're the one who escaped. You don't feel jealous, not because you stopped loving overnight, but because you finally saw the truth of what that love really was. A game of power, control, and emotional depletion. You look at their new partner and feel no envy, maybe even a bit of compassion, because you know what's coming. You know the cycle: idealize, control, devalue, break. You've lived it, you've survived it, and now you wouldn't go back even if they begged you. And that's what truly crushes a narcissist, not that you hate them, but that you've seen who they are, and you don't want them back. You're no longer interested in the illusion. You see their flashy new love story for what it is, an old movie with new casting, same plot, same ending. At this time, you're not watching. You've walked out of the theater. You're no longer part of the audience, and for them, that silence, that indifference, it cuts deeper than any insult ever could, because now you don't care who they're with. You're not stalking their life. You're not wondering if they're happy. You're not living in reaction anymore. You've shifted into intention. You're not playing by their script. You're writing your own. And that, more than any angry message or public call-out, is what truly destroys their fragile sense of self. Thing 6. You stop trying to make them understand you. At one point, what you craved more than love was understanding. You just wanted them to get you, to understand your pain, to see how hard you tried, to realize that you weren't crazy, too sensitive, or selfish like they always claimed. You exhausted yourself trying to prove you were worthy of being heard, that you were rational, that your feelings mattered, that you weren't the problem. And that's what kept you stuck. The more you tried to explain, the more they twisted your words. Every time you opened up, they dismissed it. Every calm conversation turned into a battlefield, and you kept knocking on a door that was never going to open. Then one day you got tired, not because you gave up, but because you finally saw the truth. They do understand, they just don't care, because if they understood you, they'd have to take responsibility. If they admitted you were right, they'd lose control. If they truly saw you, they couldn't gaslight you anymore. So you stopped. You stopped trying to explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped needing their validation to feel whole. You stopped begging for clarity from someone who thrives on confusion, and in that moment, you reclaimed your emotional power. To a narcissist, that's terrifying. They live off making you question yourself. When you stop looking to them for reassurance, you pull the rug out from under their entire control system. They can't silence you with apathy. They can't trigger you by pretending not to get it, because now you simply don't engage. You've become calm. You pause mid-sentence, not because you're defeated, but because you've realized it's pointless to speak to someone who isn't listening. You've learned that not everyone deserves access to your truth. Not everyone is worthy of your openness, and what you needed all along wasn't their understanding, but your own. That's when you finally walk out of the maze, no longer chasing closure, no longer waiting to be seen. You understand they won't ever get it because they don't want to, and that's enough for you to stop trying. You take that energy and bring it home, to your own healing, to your own clarity, to your own inner peace. And when a narcissist realizes that you're no longer trying to be understood, they don't just feel rejected. Their entire system of manipulation begins to collapse. Thing 7. You forgive them, but you don't go back. This is the part the narcissist can't process. You forgive them, but you don't return. No revenge, no grudges, no bitterness, just a calm gaze. No anger, no longing, no unfinished business. To a narcissist, forgiveness means opportunity. If you're no longer angry, they think the door is open. If you smile, they think they've still got a chance. If you're neutral, they assume they can come back in like nothing happened, but not this time. You're not forgiving to reconnect. You're forgiving to release yourself from the emotional chains they once wrapped around your soul. You understand that forgiveness doesn't mean saying, "It's okay." Forgiveness is facing the pain, acknowledging the wound, and then leaving it where it belongs, in the past. You no longer carry it into your present. You no longer let it shape your future. When you forgive, you're not denying what happened. You're simply choosing not to be controlled by it anymore. You don't need their apology. You don't wait for their accountability. You don't expect change. You just stop carrying them in your mind every day. And that, to a narcissist, is unbearable, because now you're not the victim. You're not raging. You're not exposing them. You're just done. You forgave them, not because they deserved peace, but because you do. You don't go back. You don't stay friends. You don't keep the door cracked open. Not out of hatred, but because you've outgrown that space entirely. Forgiveness helps you release their image. Not idealized, not vilified. You see them as a lesson you've learned. You thank the pain and move on. No regret, no second round. To the narcissist, this is incomprehensible. They thought they'd always have a back door, that you'd never fully walk away, that you'd always be waiting somewhere somehow. But when they circle back and find nothing, no interest, no hurt, no hope, no hate, that's when they finally lose you for good. And that moment, more than all the arguments, tears and power plays, is the quiet death of the control they once had over you. You forgive, you let go, you move forward, and that is the most graceful, powerful, soul-deep victory you'll ever claim. When you walk away, what truly destroys the narcissist isn't your accusations, your revenge, or even your anger. What shatters them, truly, is your calm silence, your quiet strength, and the light you begin to reclaim after every wound they left behind. You fall silent, not reacting to the script they once controlled. You stop explaining, because truth doesn't need to scream to be real. You live well, without needing them to exist beside you. You stop caring how they're doing, because you've returned to your own life. You don't feel jealous of the new person, because you no longer want a role in that recycled performance. You stop needing them to understand, because you finally understand yourself. And finally, you forgive. But you don't go back. These 7 things may seem small, but each one is a quiet revolution. Each one is a crack in the mask they hide behind. And together, they become the staircase that leads you out of the darkness, back to your true, whole, free self. If you're somewhere in the middle of that journey right now, please remember, you are not alone. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are healing from one of the most insidious forms of emotional abuse, one that made you question your worth, your mind, your reality. But here's the truth. You were always enough. You just loved the wrong person, someone who was never capable of loving anyone but themselves. And now you've chosen differently. You've chosen you. So don't stop. Keep living, keep rising, keep building a life the narcissist will never have access to again. If this video spoke to you, please subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and drop a comment. Let's heal together. You didn't just walk away. You rose.